Hi there, welcome to the second part of this small series on abortion. I purposely mentioned abortion in the first sentence of this video. Why? So nobody can mistakenly watch this video and say they didn't know the subject. In the first part we've talked about the terms as used in the debate around this topic. If you have a hard time following me in this episode, I recommend watching part 1 first. You'll find the link in the description of this video. But now we actually jump into the nitty-gritty of this whole debate. We are going to see whether we can consider the unborn as human or not. You might think this is a no-brainer, but if I would have received a grain of sand every time someone argued against this idea, well, I might be able to fill a teaspoon, I'm not sure. But no, actually people don't often talk about the unborn as non-human. That is to say, most people would say it is a human, but at the same time they argue for different qualifications of the unborn, effectively reducing the baby to subhuman or maybe even non-human. With modern technologies we can easily follow the development of the unborn. This has its benefits, but at the same time we can look at the unborn and examine it like any other part of the body. Many will look at an embryo and say that it is just a lump of cells. Still, there is much more to say about the embryo in its earliest state. Some argue, mostly the hardcore pro-choicers, that we cannot speak of human in the very beginning of conception. They say this because the first cells are totipotent and can still develop in different kinds of tissues, such as the placenta. Then they go on and say that the placenta is certainly not an individual, especially not when the formation of the embryo did not yet start. Nevertheless, it is known that these cells function as an organism rather than a group of individual cells. In other words, these cells are setting the stage as a unity, as a wholeness for the person's development. When people say that the embryonic cells cannot be accounted for as a human because they are still in development, well, it is arbitrary at best. You see, development continues in young children for many years, yet no one would dare to say that a toddler is not a person until adulthood. Maybe I shouldn't say nobody, because there are always loonies walking around of which we would be shocked if we had a chance to hear their thoughts. But now we've mentioned it, there are those that who say that embryos are parasitic and only benefit from the mother with nothing in return. But scientifically this view doesn't hold. Scientists discovered that there is no one-way relation because beneficial cells from the unborn pass into the mother's body during pregnancy. These cells will increase the activity of the mother's autoimmune conditions. This makes the mother more resistant when it comes to, for example, rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis. What a word. And the research is still ongoing, so what will be found next? Yes, biologically the unborn is a human and depending on the mother for survival. But no, the unborn cannot be seen as part of the mother, since every cell of the unborn is genetically distinct from every cell in the mother's body. And as said, this is certainly not a harmful relationship, but rather beneficial for both. Ever since the 1970s, some of the medical establishment went through what you can call semantic gymnastics. They had to change meanings of certain words in order to deny the scientific fact that human life begins at conception. This dehumanization of the unborn is not very compelling because an adequate answer to when human life actually begins is not given. This is why others follow the logical conclusion that human life starts at conception. In other words, all humans are human, whether embryonic, fetal, infantile, young, mature, old or dying. Saying that the embryo is human is begging the question whether the embryo has human rights. The question that follows is whether human rights apply to humans because they are human or because other humans say so. In the first option, if the first option is true, so if human rights apply to humans because they are human, we are secure against cruelties, at least by right. If the second option is true, our safety cannot be assured because human opinion changes over time. Good. This brings us to the threefold premise that consists of scientific, moral and legal arguments. Premise number 1. The scientific premise is that human life begins at conception. Number 2. The moral premise is that all humans have the right to live because they are human. And premise number 3 is that the law must protect the most basic human rights. Now, based on these premises, we can conclude that human life, including that of the unborn, needs to be protected against all harm. But also, when people ignore these 3 premises, we can safely conclude that they are scientifically, morally or legally oblivious. And you see, this ignorance is rather disturbing, to say at least, because the premises are so basic that most just understand them. As you can see, the human life arguments are not necessarily religious, because they are appealing to reason, or in other words, to our intellect instead of faith. For Christians, it is important that they also have sound theological reasons. The moral view of a Christian relies on the understanding of God and His Word. In the biblical moral view, or biblical worldview, we have absolutes. With this I mean we can be certain that some things are either bad or good. For example, torturing a child is always wrong, regardless of the situation, time or society. Contrary, secular society's moral views become more and more relative. What might be good for you would not be necessarily be good for me, right? You've heard it before, right? You've already seen Bible texts popping up here and there in which we can see that human life is to be protected. But for the sake of the argument, I will highlight Psalm 139. Here David clearly says that God was there when he was formed in his mother's womb. That is from the very beginning. In the New Testament we read that the baby in Elizabeth's womb leaped up when Mary visited them, indicating that the fetus was already well aware of the things that were going on around him. The Bible clearly shows that God's involvement with the unborn is there in every period of development. The question whether the expression sanctity of life should be applied to abortion can be none other than a big yes. Christians who believe otherwise and hold the Bible as authoritative need to go through some pretty misty hermeneutics to defend their views. Even without the theological background, we can just not dismiss the facts. Alright, I'll leave it at this, because as I said earlier in part 1, I'll have to make the videos a little shorter in order to be able to upload them. In the next episode we will discuss some of the dilemmas that may arise when we hold fast to our biblical worldview with its absolutes. What to do when a girl gets pregnant after she's been raped? Or how about that lady who needs to go through some hefty cancer treatments? It's interesting. Next time. For now, I'll leave it at this. I will make a playlist on both Odyssey and YouTube, making it easier for you to find all the episodes neatly arranged. And as always, I am very curious about your own ideas, your remarks or initiatives. Let me know in the comment section below. And please consider making an account on Odyssey and write your comments there. You'll find an invitation to Odyssey in the description below this video, that is. When you accept my invitation, we both receive some free LBC. but also it's easy for me to answer on Odyssey. Do take a look in the description of this video. I always try to add relevant links. Also, in that same description you'll find ways to support me. Your support will be used for making new videos and my work as missionary in the middle of nowhere on Madagascar. Anyway, thank you for watching. God bless you, and we'll see each other in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. You can give me a thumbs up if you liked it. You can also subscribe to my channel, or even better, follow me on Odyssey. That way you will never miss a new video. You will find all the links in the description below.